Hello everyone, and welcome to the Getting Started with Self-Study question and answer webinar. I see a few people still trickling in, so we'll give just a minute to see if there's any other providers coming in, since I think I'm about a minute early to the webinar. For those of you who are entering and this is your first ever webinar at NAFCC, I'd like to thank you for coming and just explain a little bit of how this night's going to go. My name is Marissa Gallegos. I am a accreditation project coordinator here at NAFCC. During the presentation of this webinar, if you have any questions, you should see a question box on your screen, and you can write in any question that you have during any point of the webinar, and I'll be answering those throughout the presentation. So please don't hesitate to ask questions if you have them, and then I will answer them as quickly and promptly as I can. And then once I get through different slides, there'll also be other opportunities to ask your questions and get some answers. So thank you again for attending. I know that you've probably had long days, and so we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. The goal of this webinar tonight will be to walk through each part of the self-study kit to explain what each piece is and how to use it. As we walk through each piece, like I mentioned, feel free to ask questions about any or all of them, and then there'll be a question session at the very end for any other questions that you had that maybe weren't answered during the presentation. We know that many providers are excited to start their accreditation journey, but once they get the actual kit in their hands, they tend to freeze after seeing how much information it is and don't quite know where to start. So this webinar was created to help alleviate those nerves and to give you an understanding of what everything is that you have in your binder, and to just ask questions about this new and exciting journey that you've started to take for yourself. So just so I make sure that everyone can see my screen and hear me okay, if you can go ahead and type your name and where you're from in the question box, that would be great, just so I can make sure that you can all hear me and see the screen okay before we get started. And then that way too, you can see, I can let you know who's all here and where you're from. Hi Xochitl, thanks for coming again. Okay, I got one person who put in a question or who mentioned their name, so I hope that the rest of you can hear me. Okay, I got a few more coming in. Renate, thanks for coming again. Hi Norma, hi Kathy. Okay, perfect. We're gonna go ahead and get started. That way we aren't too late. There isn't too much to present here, but I know that a lot of you probably have lots of questions, so I wanna make as much time as possible during this hour for your questions. Oh, and then I have a couple other providers. We have Judy, Catherine, Kathy. We've got a mix of people from all over the states. We have Wisconsin, Florida, Oklahoma, Chicago, Philadelphia, Maryland. So we've got a good mix here. Thank you all for coming and for taking the time to be here. Alrighty. Okay. So if you have purchased recently a self-study kit or have purchased in the past couple of years, the first thing that you'll notice is obviously the binder. So this 3-ring binder will have a cover similar to this one, where you'll find the name of our organization and the accreditation seal. On the back of your binders, you'll find our address and contact information. So if you have any questions, you know how to reach us. This binder will be used to keep all of your materials organized, safe, and in one location. If you happen to have another binder that you prefer to use, you're more than welcome to use it. We just like to provide this. So if you want to keep all of your NAFCC stuff together in one place, you can have them here. So we hope that you can use this binder as a tool and aid to you in any fashion that you choose to use so. When you open the binder, for the very first document that you will find is a welcome letter. The format may differ a little bit from this, but most of them should look similar to this. We want to congratulate you on this big first step to starting your accreditation. We know that it can be daunting and confusing. So in this letter, we've tried to provide some resources to you so you can find some extra information and guidance if you happen to get stuck during self-study. So the first resource that we present in this letter is the NAFCC Accreditation Candidates in Process Facebook page. On this web page, you can interact with other providers who are currently going through self-study, as well as other providers who've gone through the process before and who have requested to be mentors. So they're on that page as well to help answer your questions. Accreditation program coordinators are also on the page, such as myself, to help answer questions and give updates about upcoming webinars, additional information that might be interesting to you, or things that are just going on here at NAFCC. in Salt Lake City as well as in Washington, D.C., things that might be happening. We like to post those things on that page. So if you're not a part of that page already, I'll go ahead and mention it again at the end of the webinar, but you might want to write that down, NAFCC Accreditation Candidates in Process on Facebook if you're Facebook people and are looking for some extra community. The second resource that we provide is the accreditation@nafcc.org email. This can be used for basic questions that will be responded by either a program coordinator or a receptionist here at NAFCC. So if you just have a quick question like, oh, I don't know the next step, I want to start my application, I'm not sure how to do that, and you can't find it on the website, or just want to hear a person here from NAFCC give you the answer, you're welcome to send us an email using accreditation@nafcc.org, and it will get to the right person if you're not sure who to contact directly. And then, of course, our final resource that we list on the letter is our phone number. So if you prefer to hear someone's voice and talk through your situation with somebody, you are welcome to call us. Underneath the welcome letter, you will find a Getting Started in Self-Study Easy as 1, 2, 3 document. If you've gotten it either a year or two before this page looks a little bit different, but this is our newest updated page. This letter includes our recommendations for what your first 3 steps should be as you're starting self-study. We'll come back to this in a little bit as it will make more sense what each of those steps are once we get through all the materials, but this is a great page to go ahead and get started. If you get your kit and you just are stuck and you don't know what to do, follow these steps 1, 2, 3, and you'll have a lot easier time going through self-study. So after those first couple of introductory documents, you should have 6 copies of this book titled The Parent Guide to NAFCC Accreditation. The Parent Guide to NAFCC Accreditation is meant to be shared with the parents in your program so that they can get an understanding of what it means when you tell them, I'm working on my accreditation. Lots of parents don't know what that means, and so we created this book. That way they could read a little bit more about NAFCC and know what you're doing. The Parent Guide briefly covers what NAFCC and NAFCC accreditation is and why they should choose nationally accredited child care as their child's choice in care. It'll also cover how they can help you achieve your accreditation and how they can become advocates for family child care. For example, in the book, it will say that they can help fill out surveys. At one point during your accreditation, you'll need to ask them to fill out surveys for you. That way you get more information from them on how to better your program. So that is one thing that the Parent Guide will mention, and that's one way parents can help you with your accreditation. Renate says, you never receive these. Do you sell them separately? Yes, if you happen to need more guides, you can always purchase them from us. They are $15 each. And then another reason you might want to buy one is if when you order a kit, if you order an English kit, they will come with all English, but if you have a parent who speaks Spanish, you can order Spanish books. We do provide in Spanish as well. And then if you purchase a Spanish kit and you need more English parent guides, you can purchase them as well. But Renate, did you not receive parent guides in your self-study kit? If that be the case, then I can just send you out your 6 copies if for some reason it wasn't included in your kit. But if you're just looking for extras, then yes, you can give us a call to our office or send me an email, which I'll share at the end of the webinar, and we can get those purchased for you, as many as you need. But yeah, another benefit of the Parent Guide is hoping that parents will become excited about the benefits that they'll see in their child's daycare experience as you start working on your accreditation, such as improved communication that you might have with them, or new additions to your program that you'll implement as you are working through self-study and accreditation. We recommend that you start sharing these guides with parents once you yourself have a basic enough understanding of what you'll be doing with self-study and your accreditation. So basically, once you've read through the materials that we're going to talk about here in the self-study kit, once you've read all those and feel comfortable with them, then you can give the parent guide out, because it would be hard to give the parent guide out and then have them ask you questions and then you not know the answers to them. So make sure you're all studied up, and then you can start sharing these parent guides. And so after tonight, hopefully you'll have enough information to go ahead and start sharing those. Oh, before I go on, were there any other questions in regards to the parent guide or how to use them or what kind of information it contains? Alrighty, if there are any questions, go ahead and write them and I'll get to them. So the next book that you'll see, which is the meat and potatoes of the self-study kit, is the Benchmarks to Quality Spiral Bound book. The Benchmarks to Quality is where you are going to find all of the quality standards. The quality standards in this book are divided into 4 levels, level 1 being the easiest of standards to complete and level 4 being the most difficult. So basically, the Benchmarks to Quality is your workbook that will help you make sure that you know and understand all of the standards required for accreditation. It will help you to measure your progress as you work on each standard. This book is quite lengthy and has a lot of elements to it, so we've actually created a webinar apart from this one that teaches you how to go through this whole entire book. It's part 1 of our accreditation series, and the webinar will actually be presented in a couple weeks on the 14th. So if you're more interested in learning lots of details about how to work through this book, if you're looking through it and it's looking confusing, I would recommend that you register for that webinar, and you'll learn about how to go through each of the quality standards, how to make a plan for it. But just for the purposes of tonight, just know that this is the book that's going to help you learn all the quality standards and make a plan to meet all of them. If you're interested in seeing all of our standards in one place, rather than all jumbled up in level order, we do offer a PDF file on our website that lists them in numerical order as opposed to easiest to hardest. So to access this, you can go to our website, www.nafcc.org, and then on the very front page on the lower right-hand corner where I've put the blue arrow, you will click on NAFCC Accreditation Quality Standards with 2017 updates, and that's how you can find the updates. And once we get to the point where we're going to look at the online self-study kit, I'll show you how to access that as well. And I can show you how to get to that if you want to see what it looks like. I have a question. Kathy says, do you pay $15 for one parent book, or do you get 6 for the $15? So it is $15 per book, so not for the set of 6. But yes, 15 per book, whichever one you need, English or Spanish. That's a good question. And that's just because of printing and the amount of pages that it holds. I think, if I remember, there's 12 pages or so, 13 pages in the parent guide. So yeah, that's where that price comes from. Alrighty, so the next thing after the Benchmarks to Quality book, you will find the parent guide, or I'm sorry, you'll find the provider guide to achieving NAFCC accreditation. This publication is a how-to manual to help you work through and achieve accreditation. I really like this, and this is the first step that we recommend that everyone take once they get their self-study kit. And the reason is because it will walk you through and explain in depth what accreditation is, why it's important, what are quality standards, how do you use them, how to use the benchmarks to quality, how to fill out your application, how you can prepare for your observation visit, and what you can do to maintain your accreditation. And it also gives you some tips on how to create a professional portfolio and market your program. So this is a really good guide to get started with. Oh, Ask Jeek, she was helping me out. She said the parent guide is 15 pages. Thank you. I knew it was in the teens. I just couldn't remember off the top of my head. But yes, 15 pages, $15. Okay, so yes, just like I mentioned before, this is the first step that we recommend. If you remember, let me go back a couple slides. And this sheet, we had recommended that the first step be the provider guide. That's what we're talking about right now. They're just the loose leaf pages that you see in your self-study kit. That's titled Provider Guide. This is really, really helpful tool just to give you a brief outlook of everything. Renata is asking if we sell this separately. We do not. The Provider Guide was only sold in the kit. The few items that you can purchase separately are the Parent Guide and the Benchmark book. Those are the only two that we sell separately. The Provider Guide will always come with the binder and all of the other elements of the self-study kit, just because it is basically what the meat and potatoes of the self-study kit is. So if you want extra parent guides, those are $15. And then if you want an extra benchmark book because you've lost it or because you want to show your friend a benchmark book and want them want to help them get started with accreditation and they're nervous to buy the full kit, or for any reason as a Christmas present or whatever, they are $35. So parent guide $15, benchmark $35. Some people like to purchase other benchmark books too if they happen to fill out their whole benchmarks the first and second or third time around and they want more space, or if they're wanting to have the most updated standards in the spiral bound book, that might be another reason why you purchase one. So Samantha asked, how much is the total kit? The total self-study kit, if you haven't purchased one, is $315, and that's if you're a member of NAFCC. So if you're not a member of NAFCC, I highly recommend that you become a member and then purchase the kit, because the non-member price for a self-study kit is $450, and to become a member is only $45. So to become a member is $45, and then to purchase the member self-study kit is $315, so that ends up being only $360 as opposed to $450 for not being a member. And then of course you get the extra benefits of being a member. So I would definitely recommend go that route to save some money, and then also get some extra perks and benefits of being a member. That's a really good question. Are there any other questions about prices or how to do that? After I go through all of the pieces, I'll show you how to purchase one if there's anyone on here who's interested in purchasing one and hasn't done so yet or needs to purchase a new one. So those are all really good questions. Alrighty, so everything that I just discussed up to this point is everything that you'll find in your physical self-study kit. So if there's any other questions, go ahead and ask them now, because now we're going to switch gears a little bit and I'm going to show you the eSelf-Study, so the self-study materials that you can access online. So are there any other questions about the physical materials before we move on to the online materials? Samantha's asking, if I purchase the kit, how long is it good for? That's a really good question. Once you purchase a kit, you are enrolled in the self-study program for 3 years. I wouldn't worry too much about not meeting that 3-year mark, because a lot of providers will get it done within the first year. And then the rest of them usually get it done within the second year if they don't get it done in the first year. But if that does make you nervous, we have had providers who have taken longer than 3 years, and the only thing that that happens is when your enrollment expires, you do just pay a $50 fee to extend the life of your self-study for another 3 years. Because what happens after that 3-year mark, if we don't receive an application from you, we assume that maybe you're not interested anymore, or that maybe just life happened and you weren't able to finish it. And so we usually don't reach out to you because we don't want to bother you. But if you reach out to us and say, hey, I want to extend the life of my self-study, we'll do that for you. And then if you're worried about your self-study kit being expired or not having the right information, if you've purchased a kit in the past, we'll resell you the self-study kit and give you a replacement self-study kit for just $100, because we really want you to become accredited and we want to help you through that process. But if it is your first time through self-study, you do have to pay the full price of $315. Okay, so Norma's, that would be a good example for you. Norma's saying that she thinks she's getting close to her 3rd year mark. If you want to, I'll give you my contact information at the end and we can double check your date. But if you're getting close and you feel like you're gonna finish soon, we could work around that date with you, especially if you're like really close to getting that application in, then we'd rather help you out instead of making you have to pay that if you're only gonna need it for another month or 2, you know what I mean? So we do like to help you out with getting those done. But if you know that, no, I'm getting close to my 3-year mark and it's going to take me a whole nother year or 2, then yeah, you would have to pay that $50 extension fee to extend the life of your self-study kit for 3 years. And then if you wanted to, you could pay an extra $100 to get the most updated information. But if you've purchased a kit before 2012, there's no reason to get updated materials, because any updated standards you can see on our website, and the rest of the materials are basically the same. Okay, got lots of questions coming in. Tamara's asking if there'll be mentors. So different states offer classes and mentorships. So some states do have mentors, others do not. This is one of the reasons that we created the NAFCC Accreditation Candidates in Process page. That way you as providers could help each other out, and then accredited providers could help be mentors towards you. And then also the reason we've developed these webinars, so for those who don't have classes or mentors, or for those who do need extra assistance in knowing how to get through accreditation, they can attend these and get the help that they need. So Tamara, if you're looking for a specific mentor to help you, I would reach out on the Facebook page and say, hey, I'm just wanting a buddy to work with who wants to be my buddy or my mentor, and I'm sure there would be people happy to help you with that. And then we do have another Facebook page of just mentors, and so if you wanted to reach out to me directly, I might be able to help you find one, but you can usually find one on your own through that Facebook page. You're welcome. Okay, Norma says, I'm interested but worried how much work it takes. That's a really good concern. Like I had mentioned before, it kind of depends on how long you've been open and have had your program. So if you've been a family child care provider for several years, I've noticed that those providers get done with it really quickly because they go and they open the benchmark book. I'll go back. They open this book and they start reading the quality standards and they say, oh, I'm already doing that. Oh, I'm already doing that. And they start marking them off and they notice that they have a lot of the stuff already done. And then another thing is your licensing for your state helps you to make a lot of those quality standards done as well. A lot of the things that you have to do for licensing are in here, just taking it up an extra level. So for licensing, you usually have to have CPR, first aid, your health and TB screenings, and your background checks. Like those are all things that are required, but you've already gotten done because you've been licensed. So if you've been a family child care provider for a little while, they usually get it done within the first year or so. If you haven't had your program opened as much, or if it's something you're a little more nervous about, then it might take you a little bit longer. But like I said, you have 3 whole years to get it done. The only thing that I see that providers take the most time is for the training hours. So for a first-time accrediting provider, you do have to submit your application with 120 training hours. And so that's usually what takes the most time, not so much the benchmarks to quality and making sure you have all the quality standards, because most providers feel that they can get a good grasp on those pretty quickly, but it's just getting that amount of training that we request, which is usually takes a little bit longer. Catherine asked, does the kit come with DVDs? It does not come with DVDs. I know that years and years ago, they used to come with DVDs. So if you are a provider who's had a kit for a while, you might have a DVD, but since my time here at NAFCC, we haven't had DVDs in there, but we do offer all of these webinars every couple of weeks to kind of take place of those DVDs. And then also we have a YouTube page where I put all these recordings on. That way providers, if you forget information or weren't able to make a webinar, you can watch those on Facebook or on YouTube. We provide them on both those pages. Maureen says, can you clarify what the first paragraph in the parent guide is saying, the numbers and percentages? Yeah, give me a second. Let me grab my parent guide. So you asked the first page, the first paragraph. Oh, page 3. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so what Maureen is asking, if you have your parent guide in front of you on the 3rd page, and it says, what is NAFCC? It just reads, the National Association for Family Child Care serves a nationwide nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting high-quality child care by strengthening the profession of family child care. For over 200,000 regulated family child care programs, serving almost 40% of the 1,705,000 children in care. So the 200,000 regulated family child care program, that means that they're either licensed or they have a program for their state that helps them to be regulated. Some states are a little bit different and don't require licensing or don't have a licensing program, but they have a regulation program. So that's what that number means, is that family child care has over that number of providers who are licensed or who are regulated by somebody. And those providers serve 40% of the 1.7 million children that are in child care. So the other 60% of providers are those who are not licensed, who are like grandmas who who watch their grandchildren, or your neighbor down the street who watches a couple kids after school. So those are the other percentage. So hopefully that answers your question about what that means. And that's really good information to know, because that's something that we at NAFCC try to do too. We try to help the licensed providers get accredited, and we try to help the providers who aren't regulated or licensed to get licensed, so then they can also become accredited. So Kathy says she paid the $945 package, so that pays for the self-study, the application, and the update. That package is the same. So it'll last, well, the self-study part will last for 3 years, but because that bundle pays for the application and the update, that is kind of like infinite until you, of course, submit your application and submit your update, then it's paid for, and then you'd have to pay for it again if you become reaccredited. So yeah, that will be fine. And then Norma, if you feel you do need to be extended, I'll show you my email at the end of the presentation, and we'll be in contact and I can let you know what you need. Makisha says, thanks, I need to check mine as well. I can't remember how long I've had my self-study kit. Yeah, so for anyone who's worried about the length of their self-study kit, I'll give you my information at the end of the webinar and we can double check all those dates. And then if needs be that we make extensions, we can do so. Or if we need to send out replacement kits, we can do that. And then if not, we can help you get on track to submit your application. That way you can become accredited. Okay, Kathy says, yes. Oh, she's just mentioning the comment I made about the benchmarks, that when she opened it, she felt that she was already doing most of those things. So good. I'm happy that I'm reflecting correctly what providers are feeling and saying as they're going through the benchmarks. Kathy asks, if you're a group provider, can you still get accredited? If I'm understanding your question correctly, you're asking if you, in your family child care program, have other providers helping you, if you can still become accredited. The question is, or the answer is yes, you can still become accredited, but it would just be you and your program that's becoming accredited. If the other providers in your program want to become accredited too, they would have to do their own self-study kit and do their own accreditation application. And then when an observer comes out to their home, they would just observe you and whoever else in your program wants to be accredited all at the same time. I hope that answered your question. I understood your question correctly. So Samantha then asks, training hours, of the 120 training hours, is there a cutoff for the date? So yes, they have to be no older than 3 years old from the time you submit your application. So if you submit your application the beginning of next year, January 2020, you could submit any training hours from 2019, 2018, and 2017. The only exception is a degree. So if you have a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, or associate's degree, it doesn't matter when you finish those, we'll always accept those for training hours, no matter how old it was. If it was 4 years or 20 years old, we'll accept those. But every other training can't be older than 3 years. That's a good question. Alrighty, I think I got everybody's question. If I missed it, write it in again, that way I see it. But I do want to go ahead and move on to the eSelf-Study, and then if you still have more questions, then we'll have time for more questions as well. Kathy says, I meant group as in a home group provider. So NAFCC, we only accredit programs who are home-based. So family child care. So if you consider your program, your group home, to be a family child care, then we could do so. But if you are in a group home and you have your enrollment of different children coming in every day, then that wouldn't be a family child care home and we wouldn't be able to give you accreditation. But there are other organizations that can give you accreditation. So I know when I hear home group provider, at least here in Utah, when we say that, it means that you have just a random enrollment, you have different children in every day. So if that be the case, then no, we wouldn't be able to give you that accreditation, but you could learn plenty of information from the benchmark and from the self-study kit. We just wouldn't be able to accredit you. But if you do have a regular enrollment with regular children who come every day and you meet all the licensing requirements to be a family child care provider, then you would be fine. So Kathy says it means you can have up to 12 children. Yeah, as long as you're meeting the family child care requirements, you should be good. I know that there are different states that they label them as small child care, family child care, and large family child care. So as long as your state is labeling you as that, then yes, you are fine. And as long as you meet all of the other NAFCC requirements. So Renate says, I am worried about CEUs. I faxed my training in a few weeks ago and have not heard back. Email them to me, Renate, because I remember you mentioned that the last webinar too, and I don't know if maybe they didn't transfer over to us. or maybe it got lost in cyberspace. I'm not sure. So yeah, go ahead and email them directly to me and I will count them for you, okay? That way we can help you with that. Alrighty, so we're gonna go on to the eSelf-Study and talk a little bit about that. You're welcome, Renate. So if you go back to the front of your binder on the very front flap, if you have a newer binder with that you've received within the past few months, you'll have a letter that looks like this, which is an invitation to your eSelf-Study portal. If you provided an email with your self-study enrollment, you will have access to self-study materials online. So I do want to take you out of the presentation for a moment to walk you through our website to show you how to access this material. For those who are watching this presentation who don't have eSelf-Study, whether because they haven't purchased a self-study kit yet, or because you had an older self-study kit and the eSelf-Study wasn't created yet, since this was created in 2017, I would be happy to give you login information. That way you can access this information. So let me go ahead. I'm going to exit out of this presentation and show you our website. So once you get to our website, nafcc.org, this is what our front page looks like. If you've received self-study and you've received your username and password, all you need to do is, let me grab my pen here. You'll come here to accreditation. You'll hover over there, and then you'll scroll down here to the second box that says My Self-Study and click there. That will bring you to this self-study page, and then you will want to click right here, log into eSelf-Study. Once you click on that, you will type in your username and password that was provided to you either on the form that you received in the self-study kit or in an email. I would have sent you an email that had that login information as well the day that I sent out your kit. So Tamara says she doesn't think that you got that. Renata says she's not sure she got it either. So yes, I will make a note of those who don't think that they received it, and we'll make sure that you get enrolled so that way you can access all this information. Okay, so let me just type in my information. Oops. So once you do this, there's sometimes a little bit of a bug. You will either be taken to your self-study, your eSelf-Study, or it might take you to the front page again. If it happens to take you to the front page again, then you'll want to go back to accreditation, My Self-Study, and log into eSelf-Study, and then you will have been logged in and you will have this information that says welcome to eSelf-Study. So yeah, anyone who thinks that they didn't get their information, you can go ahead and just say, I don't think I got it in the question box and send it to me. I know that some of you who are commenting, I know I sent you emails, so it might just be me sending you another email again. That way you have fresh login information. But yes, I will make sure that all of you tonight get an email from me with access to eSelf-Study. Alrighty, so now that we're here on eSelf-Study, I'm just going to walk you through all the features here. So the very first thing you'll see is just a little introduction. And then underneath the introduction, we have the video library. So this is what I was mentioning to you. After we have a presentation, we will save it, we'll put it on Facebook, we'll put it on YouTube, and then we'll put it on here. So this recording is, we have the last getting started with eSelf-Study that we had, the last recording, I put it on here. Here is the next part 1 of the accreditation series, part 2 and part 3, and then another one with the most missed standards. I haven't put the part 4 on there yet about the update, but yeah, this would have been, with that one, it will have all the 6 presentations that we give on the accreditation. So you can come here, and if you want to watch any of these videos, I keep them updated with the most recent recording, and then you can also access them on YouTube as well. So if we scroll down, here on the left side of the screen is where you will find all of the self-study materials digitalized. So this first one, let me get my pen. First one here is the provider guide. So we talked about that, that the provider guide has all of the basic information. So like here, chapter 1, what is accreditation? Chapter 2, why NAFCC accreditation? Chapter 3, self-study. So it'll take you through every single portion of self-study. So if we were to click on one, let's say, let's click on self-study, chapter 3, self-study. it will open up a new tab for you, and you will see exactly what you would have in your physical kit, just digitalized in PDF format. That way you can read it on your phone or on your computer, however you want to access your digital information. Oops. Or maybe you didn't open a new tab, but just open that one. Okay, so then you would have to move back. Underneath there, here's the parent guide. So if you click on parent guide, then you have all of the inside pages of the parent guide, so you can see that digitalized. There are a couple of things in here that aren't included in your physical self-study kit, so this would be a benefit of coming here. One of those things is the NAFCC Code of Ethical Conduct. This is something that you must read and sign before you can submit an application. On part of the application, it will ask if you read this and you promise to live it, just to be ethical in all that you do in your child care program. So that we have on this page, and then also the quality standards for NAFCC accreditation. Like I mentioned, you can either access that through our homepage, or we do have it here as well. This has all the quality standards, but just organized numerically and into categories. So if you click on relationships, it'll show you all the quality standards in numerical order that have to do with relationships. And then environment, developmental learning activities, safety and health, professional business practices. So you can click on all of those to see those standards organized in that way. And then under here is the benchmarks to quality, which we talked about. You can click level 1, and it'll show you all of the standards for level 1, and those for level 2, level 3, level 4. That way you can have them all here digitalized as well. Norma asks, are we able to print this off the site? For example, if I need another family child care health assessment, will I be able to? Yes, that's the next thing I'm going to show you on this left-hand side. So on the right-hand side, what I showed you, that's all the self-study kit information. Here on the right side, this is where we have all the resources. So down here, we have the actual application form. When you're ready to do that, it's right here. We have the health form, TB form, training forms, and then the licensing clearance. So all that extra paperwork that you need to do is all here. And then, yes, if you wanted to print out the PDF to have an extra copy on hand, yes, this material is available to you to use on your computer or print or use how you would like to. Going further up on this, if you happen to speak Spanish or know someone who speaks Spanish and they need some Spanish translation, you can click on here, Estudio Personal Español, and it will translate everything into Spanish. So if you go to Guía del Proveedor, which is the provider guide, and click Capítulo 1, you'll see that chapter 1 you have here, but it's all in Spanish. This is useful for when you need a parent guide. If you have someone who speaks Spanish and you want to give them a parent guide, but in Spanish, here we have the Guía para los Padres, and then you have the parent guide, but just in Spanish. So this is a great resource if you have, if you have someone who speaks Spanish, or if you yourself speak Spanish and prefer to read those materials in that way. And then if for accident you press that, or if you want to go back to English, just press self-study in English again, and it will take you back to this page. And then over here, there's also just some at-a-glance forms. So this is, if you click on each of these, it'll just give you a one-page brief description of what these phases of accreditation are. So this is a good column if you're looking for like paperwork or extra information. The only other thing in this column is this gives you the link to the Candidates in Process Facebook page that I was telling you about. So if you click on this, I'll just show you. Let's see if it goes. Perfect. So I'm logged into my account. So here you can see the accreditation Candidates in Process page. If you want to, oh look, 2 people want to join the group. So those are probably 2 people that are watching right now that have joined the group. So I can add you to the group. You have to answer a couple questions to be able to join the group, and then I'll add you on here. And then, like you can see, there's a provider here who was asking about a food program, and so they were asking advice from somebody. Here I put webinar for tonight, and then because it was Halloween, there were lots of providers sharing what they did for Halloween and things like that. So it's just a fun page to see what people are doing, to see what other providers are asking, and then for you yourself to ask the questions that you need. So if you haven't joined that, I would definitely recommend that you join it because it's a lot of fun. Okay, I got a couple questions coming in. Oh, Avonda, perfect. She said she was one of those who just requested. Great, so I will accept you just a minute. Okay, so Renate says, my friend has a self-study guide. She allowed access to the one online. She would need the Spanish resources. Yes, if she does have a self-study guide already and has purchased one, but just can't remember her login information, she can contact me and I can get her the login information. That way she can access this and have the materials in Spanish. Latonta, yes, Latonta asks, do I need to print the benchmarks or can I view them and mark them off some other way? So if you purchase the self-study kit, then you will get it in this file-bound book. That way you don't have to print off all the pages. You already have it all printed off for you in your physical self-study kit. So purchase the kit. That way you have access to both this eSelf-Study and the physical kit. But in the physical kit, you'll have that benchmarks book for you to write all over. And then if for some reason you, you just have the eSelf-Study kit, Latonta? So yes, if you only have the eSelf-Study kit, then yeah, you would want to print these off, or you can call or email me and we can get you a physical benchmark book for $35. That way you can have it all printed out in a nice file-bound book for you. I know there are some providers who just ordered the eSelf-Study before in the past, and so if that be the case for you and it's becoming difficult just to use the eSelf-Study, yes, you can always call me and we can purchase the physical benchmark book for $35, or if you want to do it on your own and print it, you can do it as well, but it ends up costing about the same whether you print it or we print it, but yeah, whatever you choose to do. And then Kathy says, I've had the self-study kit for a while. This helps dispel the fear of starting. Good, I'm so happy about that. That was something that, I've only been here at NAFCC since February, but it was something that self-study is a passion of mine. So I've been working really hard to try to reach out to providers who've been in self-study for a while. So that's why we created this series to help you out. So I'm glad that this is helping a lot, Kathy, as well as others of you who are feeling the same way. So good. Alrighty, and then the only other thing here on the eSelf-Study kit is here in the middle column, we put a featured standard. I change this every couple of months or so, not too often, but every couple of months, and I just put on standards that providers have asked me about a lot on phone calls, or ones that are new if we happen to have new ones. So this featured standard was 3.5. It talks about provider supporting children in their growing self-awareness and self-acceptance. And so we just put like a little bit of extra information that might not be included in your self-study kit or in your benchmarks book, just to give you more background on it, what's going on in family child care in regards to the standard, or what science and universities are saying about this standard and things like that. So I have a degree in marriage and family studies, so I know how to do research on this, so I'll research things and I'll put them on here. That way you can have some things. Someone else wrote this specific featured standard, but yeah, we like to change those out so you can get some up-to-date information about what's going on about certain standards. So yep, that's kind of the eSelf-Study kit and what that has. And then of course I have my contact information here. I'm the self-study specialist. If you need anything, I have my email and then my phone number with my extension. So that is basically what I have to show you tonight. Let's go back to the presentation. So if there are any other questions, I knew that's going to happen. If there are any other questions, go ahead and write them down now. Let's see, what time is it? We have about 15 minutes until, we have about 15 minutes until the hour ends. So if you need to skedaddle, you can go ahead and leave at this time. But if you want to stay and ask me some questions, I'll be here for another 15 minutes or so until the hour ends. But just some quick information before you head out if you have to leave. This is our contact information if you need to contact anyone from the NAFCC Accreditation Team. Alicia Platt is our Accreditation Operations Manager. Fernanda, she works on updates and applications. Me, Marissa, I help first-time providers with their self-study and then submitting their application for the first time. And then Maria, and I do provider engagement as well. And then Maria works on the observation piece of accreditation. And then on the left-hand side, I put the name of the Facebook page again. So if you want to join, that's the name. And then, of course, if you have any other questions or concerns outside of this webinar, go ahead and feel free to take a picture of this screen so you have all our contact information so you can contact us at any time. Okay, so I have some questions coming in. Norma asks, I have 2 provider numbers, one for the state and one for the military. Will they both be accredited? So, So you're saying that you have 2 providers, or you have 2 numbers, like that you have. When you're with the military, the process is a little bit different. Okay, thank you, Norma, for clarifying. So with the military, they will actually help you a lot with accreditation. They usually provide mentors for you, so you can go and they help you fill out your application and everything. So they'll probably use your military number, your military license, childcare license, since that is updated every year. So you can go, yes, they'll help you out with your payments as well. They're really, really good about helping you, whether you're in the Army, Navy, Air Force. They're really good about helping you with mentorship, with paying for your fees. So yeah, I would work with your mentor if you have him or her, and they'll help you get through everything. And yeah, you'll go ahead and use most likely that number. But we here at NAFCC will give you a different membership number, but for licensing purposes, yeah, you'll use your military license. And then Maureen says, oh, thank you for clarifying the other 60% of the unlicensed providers. Yeah, so she was just mentioning what we read in the parent guide. So yes, 40%. That number may have changed a little bit since we published that, but yes, that is, from what I've recently read, that sounds still correct. Yeah, 40% are licensed or regulated, and the majority, the 60%, are unlicensed. Oh, Norm was asking, will my state license be accredited? Yes, so what happens is you have your licensing, and then accreditation is a status that is separate from your license. But when you become accredited, your state page will say that you're accredited. So yes, it'll show up on your military one and your state one, it should. So when people go to your registries or try to find you through your state page, it'll say Norma CS, family child care provider, and that she's NAFCC accredited. So yes. Kathy Bell asks, when the parents do the survey and put them in their own separate envelope, and they were dated before your observation, or do you have to have the parents do a whole new survey and seal in an envelope? Okay, that's a good question. So for those who have questions about parent surveys, you can go ahead and start doing parenting surveys now if you would like, to help you get through self-study and kind of get some more information about what parents are learning about your program or how they feel about your program, so you can make adjustments. But at the time of the observation, you will get those parent surveys again for parents to fill out. And those surveys are more based towards how they feel about your program and what things they've seen in your program. So the observer can help the observer make a decision about whether to help you become accredited or not. So to answer your question, you can use them as long as it's the same format, because we do have one survey that's a little bit different that is more towards marketing and more towards helping your program. But we don't use that one very often, so you probably aren't using that one. You're probably using the correct parent survey. So yeah, you could go ahead and use those and have them start sending those in. But that's not something I would stress or worry about too much in the self-study phase. Worry more about that in the observation phase. Once we've given you an observation date, we'll send you out a packet that has parent surveys in it, so that way you can get them to the parents, and the parents just have to quickly turn around and give them to you. That way you either have them to send back to us once you've had your observation, or that they send back to us in an envelope. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if you made a copy from the book, Kathy, then yes, that's the correct one. And they can fill it out and send it to us at any time, and we'll just keep it in our file until you have your observation. Okay, Linda says, Marissa, I'm doing my 2-year update. However, I would like to go through the accreditation process again. When should I get the self-started? When should I do self-study? So that's a really, really good question, Linda. When you become reaccredited, you do not have to do self-study again. The update that you do for your first and second year, or your 18-month update, those take place of the self-study, since what you do in those updates is let us know about the quality standards you're currently working on, and how you've been improving your program continually. That is kind of like your mini self-study that you work on during the 3-year accreditation period. So you do not have to do self-study again. You just do the update. And then once you send in that second year update, Linda, I would start working on your application, because you want to submit your application at least 6 months before your accreditation expiration date, because it will take that long between 4 to 6 months for us to get all the paperwork done, to get your observation visit, and to have your observation scored. So I hope that answers your question, Linda. You don't have to do self-study again, but if you wanted to purchase a benchmark book, just to have it to help you study, to be prepared for your accreditation. I do have a lot of providers that do that, and they have benefited from that. So if you want to purchase just the benchmark books to help you be prepared for your reaccreditation, that would be a good idea. So Judy asks, that's super cool to be a military provider with a license. Yes, it is. This is the first time that I'm hearing of a military license. Congratulations to you all. Thanks, Judy, for congratulating all those. Yeah, so if you're in the military, their licensing is a little bit stricter, and they have other things that they have to renew like every year. So yeah, they are really awesome providers, those that go through the military, and they have to do tons of training hours too. Okay, let's see other questions. Oh, Kathy, you were asking, yes, so Kathy is asking whether the parents have to send her back the survey or if they can send them directly to us. Either way, if they give them back to you, then you'll just have to send them to us. But the parent surveys also do have our address on them. That way they can send it directly to us. So either way. Samantha's asking if there's a fee for renewal. So yes, when you become, I'll go through the steps. So for self-study, it's the $315. Once you submit your application, there's a $525 fee. After you become accredited and you submit an update, then the update is $160. And then if you choose to become reaccredited, then you go through the whole application process again, and then that would be another $525 to be reaccredited. So when you say renewal, I just wasn't sure if you meant application, a reaccreditation, or if you meant a renewal as in an update. But hopefully that answered your question. So for an application to become accredited for 3 years, that is $525. And then for your update, which is at your halfway mark, or at your 1 or 2nd year mark of your accreditation, then that is $160. Okay, Tamara asks, is the parent survey due now or down the line, and where are they located? So yes, the parent surveys, you don't have to worry about those until after you've submitted your application and once we have an observation date set for you. After we've reviewed your application and after we reached out to you to ask what observation month you want, we will then send you a new package that includes a little workbook that you need to fill out for your observation to help you be prepared. And then it will also include those parent surveys that you'll have about a month or two to get those out to your parents, have them fill them out and either give them back to you or send them back to NAFCC. So those are due down the line after you've had your observation visit. So yeah, no need to stress out, Tamara. So you're good. You don't need to worry about parent surveys until way down the line after you've submitted your application and after you have an observation visit set up. But if you wanted to access them now, you can access them in your provider guide or on our website. But you don't need to stress about those now. Kathy is asking if it's better to get the combo package. It depends. So what Kathy is referring to is there is a way that you can save money if you want to purchase the self-study kit, the application fee, and the update fee all together. So separately, it ends up costing you more, but if you pay for the whole bundle up front, it's only $945, which I think, if I remember correctly, saves you $350. Don't quote me on that number. I'm only trying to remember off the top of my head, but I believe that it's around that number. It depends. If you are 100% sure that you're going to go ahead and go through accreditation, then yes, I would say do it and pay for the bundle. If you're not sure, or if you're running low on funds and you can only afford pieces at a time, then I would do it separately. That way you don't have to pull out $1,000 at one sitting to pay for the whole bundle. The other problem we run into is we have some people who purchase the whole bundle and then never finish self-study. So it's good for us. We get their fees for the application and the update, but then they never submit an application, and so then they never submit an update, and so they've wasted $700 on doing something that they didn't follow through with. So to answer your question, it depends on your commitment. If you're committed to go through the whole thing, then and you have the resources and the money to do it, then yeah, go ahead and do the bundle because it'll end up saving you money in the end. But if you're just saving a little bit at a time and you can only afford it in chunks, or if you're a little worried about timing and how long it's going to actually take you to do all those phases, then I would purchase it, each of those parts separately. Okay, Avanda's asking, thank you for the time. I can't wait for the next meeting. I had support here, but my lady left, so now I'm worrying, but we'll keep working towards accreditation. Awesome. Thank you so much, Avanda. I'm glad that these webinars are helping, and I hope to see you on the next one. That'll be a lot of fun. Okay, let's see what else. I have another question. Linda is asking, about the price of the benchmark book. So the benchmark book is $35. You can order that by calling me or by emailing me saying you want it, and then I'll give you a call, or I can send you a online link so you can pay online if you prefer to do it that way. But yes, we can get you a benchmark book if you would like one. Norma says, I can't make the second class on the 14th. Can you email me a copy of the webinar after? Yes, if you join the Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can receive the copy of those afterwards. I'll also write your name down, that way I don't forget, and I can email it to you. It's sometimes hard to email them because they are so big. So what I'll probably end up doing, Norma, is I'll just send you an email saying, hey, we had our webinar, you can go access it now. And I'll give you the link to our YouTube page. That way you can see it, or you can, okay, perfect. I was gonna say, or if you join the Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get it as soon as we put it on there. Perfect. So Aschik, I hope I say your name right. Aschik is asking when our next webinar will be. So the next webinar that we will be presenting is on the 14th, and it will go over, let me go back. Oops, I went too fast. It will go over this book, the Benchmarks to Quality book. We'll go through each of the pages, and I'll teach you how to read each standard, how to understand standards, and how we deal with standards here at NAFCC. And then we'll walk you through how to make a plan on how to meet all those standards. And then, yeah, just the nitty-gritty of the Benchmarks to Quality. And then let me go ahead. I'm going to exit out of the webinar for a second, and I'll show you on our website. If you go to accreditation and hover down to achieving and maintaining accreditation, the second one down is accreditation webinars. Here is the rest of the webinars for the rest of the year. So the part one I was just telling you about, that will be how to create your development plan using the benchmark book. Part two, we covered the application and how to fill it out page by page. Part three, we talk about the observation visit and what to expect from that. Part four is the update and how to maintain your accreditation. And then we have another webinar that we do monthly, just like this Q&A session that we do monthly. We have another one, but that we talk about the most missed standards during the observation visit. This is our most popular webinar, is this most missed standard. And then after this one is this Q&A session that we're having now. So if you want to bookmark this page and register for the webinars, part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this webinar, that way you get the whole webinar series under your belt, then yeah, you're welcome to do that. And that's how you can get more information about each of these parts. So I just want to make, before I answer the rest of the questions, I do just want to give a quick blurb out to anyone who has to leave. We will be sending you out an email tomorrow with your, we'll send you out an email tomorrow with the hours you've received tonight. We'll give you an email that has proof of attendance with the amount of hours you've received for attending the webinar tonight, and then a certificate as well. If you do need an extra certificate for state purposes or for anything like that, you can request one, but the email is proof enough for NAFCC purposes if you want to submit those in later for training hours. All right, let me go back here, just in case anyone needs that information. Okay, so I'll go through the last of the questions before we close the webinar, so just get your questions in if you have any other ones. And then for anyone who has to leave, thank you so much for attending tonight, and I'm glad that this has been helpful to you, and I hope to see you on future webinars. Okay, following questions, let's see, where did they end? Okay. Oh, Kathy was saying it was her first time at the webinar. She enjoyed it. Thank you a lot. Oh, thank you, Kathy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, Chantel says, I would like to receive the link too, because you're not sure if you can attend the 14th. Okay, I'll write your name down too. And then Norma's saying she needs a benchmarks to quality. Yeah, if you don't have the benchmarks or anything, an extra one, reach out to me. My email's right there on the screen. We can get you one. Oh, Chantel just asked, where can you find the webinars? That's what I just showed you. Let me X that again. Just here at, you can either type in nafcc.org/accreditation-webinars, or you come to NAFCC Accreditation. The third box down is achieving and maintaining accreditation. And then the second option down is accreditation webinars. And that's how you get to this page. And then I keep this updated with all the webinar registration links, so you can register for those. And then even if you, I think if you register and then if for some reason can't meet it or can't attend the webinar, I think that they send you a recording of it still afterwards if you missed it, or you can access it later. I know that I've seen providers access it afterwards if you can't attend. Oh, no worries, Bridget, you're good. Let's see. Alrighty, so I don't have any other questions coming in, so if there aren't any other questions, just again, thank you so much for attending. If you have any feedback about the webinars or more things that you would like to learn about, feel free to email me or to comment on our Facebook page. I'll be, for those of you who just requested that, I'll be adding you to the page right now after we close the webinar. And just thank you again for joining the webinar, and let us know if there's anything else we can do to help you. We'd like to talk to you on the phone and get you emails. Kathy's asking, does this series of webinar give you training hours for accreditation? Yes, so that's what I was just mentioning. Tomorrow you'll get an email with proof of attendance, and it will say the title of this webinar, it'll say my name, and it will say how many hours you received. So 1 hour for this webinar, and then you can either turn in, you can just send me that email right back, or save it for when you submit your application. Just include that with your application, and yes, we will count these webinars towards your training hours. Alrighty, well, thank you again so much for attending. I hope to see you in a couple weeks on the 14th if you can make it. Otherwise, I hope to see you on the Facebook page and see you around. Thank you so much. Have a great night.